Welcome to Bruce Hurwitz Presents Meet the Experts. I'm your host, Bruce Hurwitz of Hurwitz Strategic Staffing. You can find us on the web at hsstaffing.com. I hope you consider us for all your staffing, career counseling, and professional writing needs. Momentarily, I will be joined by Professor Pete Alexander for a discussion on stress management. Meet the Experts is sponsored by P&K CPAs. P&K is a full-service accounting firm. They provide accounting and consulting services to businesses ranging from startups to small and mid-cap companies to nonprofits as well as high-net-worth individuals. Contact them today for a free consultation at info@pk-cpas.com or call them at 973-882-8810. They will be happy to be of service. Professor Pete, welcome to the show.
Bruce, thank you so much for having me on your show, and I really appreciate your listeners' time as well.
Well, on behalf of all of us, thank you. Take a moment or two and introduce yourself to our viewers.
Sure. So I actually have several things that I'm grateful to that keep me busy. I manage the office plants by Everything Grows, which is based in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's an interior landscaping business. I also am a marketing professor for Antioch University, where I get to inspire my students to create fabulous marketing plans for a topic of their choice. So that's a pretty fun when I get to see the end result from my students about ideas that they have to make their careers even better. And I also get to spread laughter throughout my community as a laughter yoga teacher and also as an improv comedy performer. So it's pretty busy.
I actually had a guest on a few weeks back who, I forget if she said humor or laughter, but it was all about the importance of laughter. And she said that laughter is the most important thing for your health. Mm-hmm. And I said, no, sleep's number one. Laughter can be number two. And she agreed. Reluctant, yeah. She agreed.
Yeah, I would have to say both are equally important. It's amazing with laughter what that can do for the positive benefits of our health. And the interesting thing is that when in the classes that I teach, you would think, oh, okay, so what are you doing, watching funny cat videos or something like that? And the reality is, and probably what I would call the secret sauce to laughter yoga, which has been around since 1995, and it's a worldwide phenomenon, is the fact that as smart as our bodies are, they don't know the difference between a real and a simulated laugh. Only knows that we're laughing, and the positive endorphins come out of our bodies within a few seconds after doing a hearty laugh. Mm-hmm. So by doing simulated activities that we would, as kids, we would laugh, frequently, many, many times during the day. And as adults, with all the responsibilities that we have with adulthood, we don't laugh nearly as much. And so the whole idea in laughter yoga is to just do somewhat ridiculous activities and start laughing. And then the people in the room start laughing, even if it's not funny, because laughter is so contagious. And like that's what I really, exactly. So, if you've ever thought that, if somebody yawns, you yawn. And so if somebody starts laughing, you're going to inevitably you're going to smile and you're going to want to know. And then you're probably going to start laughing too. And you have no idea why.
Now, that is off our topic. Our topic is stress management.
Yep.
And I want to thank you because we had a stress management session yesterday, in the manner of speaking.
Okay.
I was pressed for time today, and you were generous enough to agree to move this back from 2:30 Eastern to 3 p.m. And that extra half hour eliminated a great deal of stress.
Perfect.
Now, my first question for you is, well, I thank you if I didn't already.
Sure.
And My first question for you is, why is stress bad?
Well, so let me clarify a little bit about that first. Um, Not all stress is bad. So um, there is actually good stress, which is called eustress, EUSTRESS. And then there is negative stress, or some people refer to it as distress. And during my research for my book, I found that the negative stress really comes primarily in two flavors. One is ruminating about something in the past. Let's say you're feeling guilty about something you either did or didn't do. That doesn't serve anyone. If you let that negative feeling churn out of your body, it's not going to do anything but continue to become toxic inside of you. So the best thing to do with ruminating about something in the past is take the positive learnings from it. And if you can, let go, do activities to let go of whatever it is you're either guilty or any other feeling that's ruminating in the past, because you can't change the past. The other one is anxiety about something that may or may not happen in the future. And the reality is, when we worry about something that may or may not happen, let's say we're worried about how a conversation might go with someone, or maybe we have to give a presentation or something like that, and we're afraid of that we're going to get rejected, let's say. When we continue to worry about what may or may not happen and focus on the negative aspects of that, often what we end up doing is manifesting that negative outcome. So if we can actually look at that future situation as something positive, for example, a great stress relief technique is, let's say you have to do a presentation and you're worried that you're going to bomb the presentation. Well, instead of thinking about bombing the presentation, think about 5 seconds after you have said the last word in your presentation, and you imagine a standing ovation.
Mhm.
Now, all of a sudden, you're manifesting something positive. And instead of focusing on the negative, it really, really does work. When I did my TEDx talk, that's exactly what I did, manifesting the standing ovation 5 seconds after I did that talk. And the same thing happens with if you have to have a difficult conversation with someone. So instead of imagining that conversation going wrong, let's say whether it's with an employee or it's with a loved one or something like that, instead of thinking, oh gosh, this is going to go off the rails, imagine 5 seconds after your last word of that conversation, and you're either shaking hands with that person, you're hugging it out, you're smiling, whatever it happens to be. That kind of just very simple mindset hack, I would call it,
Mhm.
can really help you reduce your stress in the moment. And that, the other part too is, if you notice, when I said that the two flavors of bad stress are in the past and in the future,
Mhm.
the best we can do is actually remain in the present, because that's all that counts.
Hmm.
Right now is whatever it is that's going on right now, that's what matters. And it really is a gift, because that's why they call it a present. So truly is.
Most people, when they're dealing with stress, if they deal with it, because as we both know, there are a lot of people who do not deal with their stress, which makes matters worse.
Mhm.
Uh, they'll try exercise.
Mhm.
And anything could be an exercise: going for a
Mhm.
walk, yoga, meditation,
Mhm.
riding a bike, whatever.
Mhm.
Going skiing, not too sure. Uh, but there are also medications. Now, the medications are when you are in serious difficulty, when
Mhm.
it's become a medical problem. But there are things that people do that we all know is stupid, but for the short term, it helps them,
Mhm.
such as having an alcoholic beverage or using drugs.
Mhm.
How do you advise someone who sees their friend taking that route, alcohol, drugs, to deal with their stress? I don't want to use the word intervention, but I can't think of anything else. But I don't mean getting all the friends or family together.
Mhm.
I mean just, hey, listen, you're acting like an idiot. What
Yeah.
do you say? How do you deal with it?
It's a very good question. So, obviously hopefully the person who's having either the alcohol or drug addiction, they definitely hopefully should be with a medical practitioner working with them, especially
Well,
if
let's just
it's
say it's not an addiction.
okay. So if they're just,
It
yeah, so let's say that that,
hasn't reached that
some,
stage yet.
so they're just wallowing in at home, not doing anything other than grabbing the bottle, let's say in the evening after work or something. So the best thing to do, yeah, the reality is a person has to come to the realization themselves that they've hit rock bottom or that they're heading for that. As much as one of us, even as a dear friend or a family member, can say, oh, I'm worried about you, etc., it's not going to matter to them because they have to get to that place, that mindset themselves. One of the things that I would highly suggest, and you mentioned it earlier about the exercise. So it is amazing how going for a simple walk with somebody and just going ahead and just having a few minutes doing that and just talking gets people to start opening up. And if you can do it in a positive light like that, where the body is actually getting some nice fresh air, blood flow, connecting with nature, which is a huge stress reliever, then they're going to be more open to realizing, okay, there is, I've got this issue. What can I do about it? And so, but if you try and do, as he's mentioned, the intervention, more times than not, that's going to fail because they've got this resistance, they've got this roadblock, this wall up, and you're just going to push them farther, farther away. In fact, it's interesting. This happened recently with a friend of mine that I recommended so that to their son. So their son, he's 22, and he is addicted to video games. And so all he's doing is going to work. He's not even going to college right now. Going to work, coming home, eating whatever fast food he picks up on the way, and then he just sits for his waking hours, basically just playing video games constantly.
Make sure he doesn't read Walter Isaacson's biography of Elon Musk because
Oh,
he's also addicted to.
that's exactly right. And it's sad because, here in the US, it's not recognized as an addiction, video games. But interestingly, in South Korea, they do have several locations that are designed to help people with these addictions. And they also regulate kids who are 18 and under how much time that they can be playing video games. So in that situation with my friend's son, basically he was able to go for a quick walk with him one night. I don't know how he did that specifically, but he was able to get him to go out and have a walk with him. And he made the suggestion because he's Facebook friends with another one of his son's friends who was doing rock climbing, not hiking, just rock climbing. And they talked about it a little bit. And so he decided that he would go just check it out. And all of a sudden he loved it the first time out. And now all of a sudden he's doing more rock climbing than he is video game. But that was his choice, not this big intervention saying, oh, I'm going to turn off the power to the house to, so you can't use your video games or, this or that. It was a positive reinforcement. And so that, and certainly his son made the decision that he was going to start doing the rock climbing, but it made all the difference in the world.
What about the stress that is caused by social media?
Oof. That one is all about comparison. So if you think about it, this is, it's very negative for adults, but mostly it's very, very detrimental to teenagers, let's say, and those even younger, when they're comparing themselves to someone else. There's this jealousy, there's this nonstop, I need to do better, or I need to be like this person because I want to be popular, or I don't want to be the outcast. And the reality is, in most cases, what's happening when somebody posts something on Facebook, etc., it's usually something that makes them look good. There are the people who will post the stuff, oh, I've got this pain or that pain, but the vast majority of people are posting stuff to make them this artificial good place. And the problem is like, you look at that and you think, okay, I don't have enough, or I don't look as good as that person, or I don't have the new car, I don't have the children that I want, or I don't have the dog, etc. It's all about the scarcity. And the problem is that that is not a healthy thing for us to continuously expose ourselves to. So I always recommend in these cases, if someone is really addicted to scrolling, flipping through their phone constantly, is detox from the technology. Because the reality is, especially those of us that run our own businesses or are working for companies where it's, you mentioned Elon Musk, so you're working 80 plus hours a week. The problem is, even if you go on vacation, if you're constantly looking at your phone for whatever reason, and you're looking at the news feed, you're looking at your email feed, you're looking at your text messages, whatever, you never actually mentally disconnect. And it is so critically important to mentally disconnect. So, if you read this, the clinical research, if we take a week off, let's say, actually and let's say that's 7 days, our vacation, if we completely disconnect, is literally 1 day, because it takes us 3 days to wind down from our work and 3 days to wind back up. So there's really only 1 day where we actually are on vacation. However, if we are checking our email messages, we're checking our text messages, we're available for a phone call, we are still connected to work and we never do disengage. Same thing happens with social media. If we don't disengage with that, it becomes something that really engulfs us. And people have their phones in their bedrooms and they're constantly scrolling. They wake up in the middle of the night. What do? They scroll. And it's just, you can't disconnect from that. And it's that screen time. There's a reason why, like, those of us that have iPhones give a report every week on your screen time. Even they know that you're not supposed to be using it this much. And anyone who has seen The Social Dilemma, that was on Netflix, the documentary, the crazy thing about that, they were showing all about the negative aspects of social media, and especially how what that does to the kids. And the most powerful thing about that documentary was, at the end, it was interviewing all these different social media company executives. The question was asked, do they let their children use social media? And every single person said no. What does that say? If you're a high level executive for these big, Facebook, former Twitter, former, X, are your kids using it? No, they don't let their kids use it. So hello, what does that say?
I came to the realization that I'd probably be happier and feel better if and I chose Saturday, not for religious reasons, not that there's anything wrong with that, no electronics at all on Saturday.
Mhm.
And I didn't die. Nothing
Yep.
bad. The only electronics, my Kindle.
There you go.
I cannot live without having something to read.
Mhm.
Now it's
Mhm.
the autobiography of General Sherman.
Oh,
So
neat.
yeah, it's interesting, even from a stress management perspective. I was once asked why, when something goes wrong at work, I wouldn't go bananas. The boss might go bananas, but I
Mhm.
wouldn't. I
Mhm.
said, it's very simple. I studied history. So Winston Churchill had two major decisions to make in World War II. The first, which was, he said, was his worst, was giving the order to scuttle the French Navy. Literally a day after the French and English sailors were fighting side by side, the French refused to hand over their ships to the English once France fell to the Nazis, and he gave an order for the English fleet to sink the French fleet. That was his toughest decision.
Mhm.
The second toughest was the underground was captured in Amsterdam. And they were brought to Gestapo headquarters in Amsterdam, and they were obviously being tortured, and sooner or later everybody breaks. So the decision was made to bomb Gestapo headquarters. Best case scenario, some of them escape. Less best, they die, and then the torture's over.
Mhm.
Couldn't care less. Kill a few Nazis, Gestapo people. This Gestapo, all fine and good. Only problem was, and I don't remember if it was an orphanage or a boys' school, was located right beside the Gestapo headquarters. And there were no precision bombing in those days.
Mhm.
So he knew he was ordering the death of children, but he didn't. Now, compared to those decisions, what problem do you have at work?
That's exactly
All
right.
right. And then I can also use, and I won't give the example, but a very terrible thing that happened at one of the nursing homes that I was working at. So you can, if there's something to compare to, social media, you're comparing, as you say, the good, but in history and in life, there are also people in much worse situations. And you can take a deep breath and say, well, at least it's not that bad.
It's on that point. I read a book about 10 years ago called The Happiness Equation,
Mhm.
and it talks about this in a couple different examples as well. One is, when you hear somebody complaining, "Oh, I don't have enough money." Well, and so 10 years ago, he put this as a comparison that if you make $5,001 per year, you are making more than 50% of the world's income earners.
Mhm.
And if you're lucky enough to be making $50,001 per year, you're making more than 95% of the world's income earners. So putting it again to your point on that perspective and comparing like that, that's a little bit more in terms of realizing, hey, maybe it isn't so bad for me. The other one that I found was interesting is, we all know people who wake up in the morning and they're in a bad mood because there's whatever is going on. Well,
Mhm.
he also says this in the book. He says that at that point, there was roughly, I think, 115 billion people who had ever lived on Earth. And currently there was a roughly little over 7 billion that were alive.
Mhm.
So if you end up waking up today, you hit the lottery because you're 14 out of 15 people who have ever lived on Earth are dead. And so, thinking about it from that perspective, you're lucky enough to be alive. Why are you waking up in a bad mood? You should be celebrating that.
Yeah. Well, I read, I forget the name of the book, but that 99% of all species that have ever inhabited the earth have died.
Interesting. I didn't realize it was that high.
Yeah.
Hmm.
According to an author who I don't remember and the title of the book that I don't remember. So take it for what it's worth. I promised you that we would be through by 3:30 Eastern time. And being a man of my word, I am going to share your contact information, put us back. And my final question, is there anything that I did not ask you that you wish I had asked you? And if I had asked you, what would you have said?
Well, I often like to be asked if I have any kind of parting words to the audience. And what I always love to reinforce is this: don't trade your health for your career or any other major responsibilities, because that is a really bad trade. And the reason it is because our health is an asset to us. And if you don't have your health, nothing else matters. If you don't believe me, think about, the last time you had a bad cold or flu, something like that. Did you feel like doing anything other than lying in bed? Probably not. And when all you can do is lie in bed, you're no good to your business, to your career, to your loved ones, etc. So take care of your health and don't trade your health for your career or any other responsibility. That is the most important thing I can pass on.
Well, Professor Pete, I thank you. This has been informative and very enjoyable.
Well, Bruce, it's
Everybody
been a pleasure.
appreciates.
Thank you, Bruce. It's been a pleasure. And thank you, your audience, for listening.
I'm Bruce Hurwitz. Thank you for watching. And as always, please stay focused on success.